चलिए हम लोग सेक्शन सी सेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन इन फ्लावरिंग प्लांट्स में प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस कर लेते हैं। फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन, वेजिटेटिव प्रोपेग्यूल इन एगेव इज टर्म्ड एज। जी हाँ, वेजिटेटिव प्रोपेग्यूल इन एगेव इज टर्म्ड एज बल्बिल। जी हाँ, वेजिटेटिव प्रोपेग्यूल इन एगेव इज टर्म्ड एज बल्बिल। क्वेश्चन सेकेंड, इन वाटर हाइसिंथ द वाटर लिली pollination takes place by। जी हाँ, इन वाटर हाइसिंथ एंड वाटर लिली pollination takes place by insects और wind। जी हाँ, इन वाटर हाइसिंथ एंड वाटर लिली pollination takes place by insects और wind। Question third, which of the following is incorrect for wind pollinated plants? Options are pollen grains are light and non-sticky. Well exposed stamens and stigma. Flowers are small, not brightly colored. Many ovules in each ovary. जी हाँ, many ovules in each ovary is incorrect for wind pollinated plants. Question 4, which is the most common type of embryo sac in angiosperms? जी हाँ, monosporic with 3 sequential mitotic division is the most common type of embryo sac in angiosperms. जी हाँ, monosporic with 3 sequential mitotic division is the most common type of embryo sac in angiosperms. Question 5, what type of pollination takes place in Vallisneria? जी हाँ, male flowers are carried by water currents to female flowers at surface of water is a type of pollination that takes place in Vallisneria. जी हाँ, male flowers are carried by water currents to female flowers at surface of water is a type of pollination that takes place in Vallisneria. Question 6, in which one of the following both autogamy and geitonogamy are prevented? जी हाँ, in papaya both autogamy and geitonogamy are prevented. जी हाँ, in papaya both autogamy and geitonogamy are prevented. Question 7, which one of the following statements regarding post-fertilization development in flowering plants is incorrect? Options are: first, ovary develops into fruit; second, zygote develops into embryo; third, central cell develops into endosperm; fourth, ovules develops into embryo sac. जी हाँ, statements regarding post-fertilization development in flowering plants is incorrect. That is, ovules develop into embryo sac. Question 8. In some plants, the female gamete develops into embryo without fertilization. This phenomenon is known as। जी हाँ, in some plants the female gamete develops into embryo without fertilization. This phenomenon is known as parthenogenesis. जी हाँ, in some plants the female gamete develops into embryo without fertilization. This phenomenon is known as parthenogenesis. Question 9. Persistent nucellus in the seed is known as. जी हाँ, persistent nucellus in the seed is known as perisperm. जी हाँ, persistent nucellus in the seed is known as perisperm. Question 10. What is the fate of the male gametes discharged in the synergid? जी हाँ, one fuses with the egg and other fuses with the central cell nuclei is the fate of male gamete discharged in the synergids. जी हाँ, one fuses with the egg and other fuses with the central cell nuclei is the fate of male gamete discharged in the synergids. Question 11. A dioecious flowering plant prevents both. जी हाँ, a dioecious flowering plant prevents both autogamy and geitonogamy. जी हाँ, a dioecious flowering plant prevents both autogamy and geitonogamy. Question 12. Functional megaspore in an angiosperm develops into. जी हाँ, functional megaspore in an angiosperm develops into embryo sac. जी हाँ, functional megaspore in an angiosperm develops into embryo sac. Question 13. Attractants and rewards are required for. जी हाँ, attractants and rewards are required for entomophily. जी हाँ, attractants and rewards are required for entomophily. Question 14. Flowers which have a single ovule in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence are usually pollinated by. जी हाँ, flowers which have a single ovule in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence are usually pollinated by wind. जी हाँ, flowers which have a single ovule in the ovary and are packed into inflorescence are usually pollinated by wind. Question 15. Double fertilization is exhibited by. जी हाँ, डबल फर्टिलाइजेशन इज exhibited by angiosperms. जी हाँ, डबल फर्टिलाइजेशन इज exhibited by angiosperms. Question 16. Which one of the following statements is not correct? First, offspring produced by the asexual reproduction are called colon. Second, microscopic motile asexual reproductive structures are called zoospores. Third, water hyacinth growing in the standing water drains oxygen from water that leads to the death of fishes. And last, in potato, banana, and ginger, the plantlets arise from the internodes present in the modified stem. जी हाँ, not correct statement is in potato, banana and ginger. The plantlets arise from the internodes present in the modified stem. Question 17. Which one of the following generates new genetic combinations leading to variation? जी हाँ, sexual reproduction generates new genetic combination leading to variation. जी हाँ, sexual reproduction generates new genetic combination leading to variation. Question 18. In bryophytes and pteridophytes, transport of male gametes requires. जी हाँ, in bryophytes and pteridophytes, transport of male gametes requires water. जी हाँ, in bryophytes and pteridophytes, transport of male gametes requires water. Question 19. In a majority of angiosperms, जी हाँ, in majority of angiosperms, reduction division occurs in the megaspore mother cells. जी हाँ, in majority of angiosperms, reduction division occurs in the megaspore mother cells. Question 20. Pollination in water hyacinth and water lily is brought about by the agency of. जी हाँ, pollination in water hyacinth and water lily is brought about by the agency of insects or wind. जी हाँ, pollination in water hyacinth and water lily is brought about by the agency of insects or wind. Question 21. The ovule of an angiosperm is technically equivalent to. जी हाँ, the ovule of an angiosperm is technically equivalent to megasporangium. जी हाँ, the ovule of an angiosperm is technically equivalent to megasporangium. Question 22. Which one of the following statements is not true? Options are: first, stored pollen in liquid nitrogen can be used in crop breeding programs. Tapetum helps in the dehiscence of anther. Exine of pollen grains is made up of sporopollenin. Pollen grains of many species cause severe allergies. जी हाँ, not true statement is tapetum helps in the dehiscence of anther. Question 23. Proximal end of the filament of a stamen is attached to the. जी हाँ, proximal end of the filament of a stamen is attached to the thalamus or petal. जी हाँ, proximal end of the filament of a stamen is attached to the thalamus or petal. Question 24. The coconut water from tender coconut represents. जी हाँ, the coconut water from tender coconut represents free nuclear endosperm. जी हाँ, the coconut water from tender coconut represents free nuclear endosperm. Question 25. Which of the following statement is not correct? Options are: first, some reptiles have also been reported as pollinators in some plant species. Insects that consume pollen or nectar without bringing about pollination are called pollen and nectar robbers. Pollen germination and pollen tube growth are regulated by chemical components of pollen interacting with those of the pistil. And last, pollen grains of many species can germinate on the stigma of a flower, but only one pollen tube of the same species grow into the style. जी हाँ, not correct is pollen grains of many species can germinate on the stigma of a flower, but only one pollen tube of the same species grows into the style. Question 26. Seed formation without fertilization in flowering plants involves the process of जी हाँ, seed formation without fertilization in flowering plants involves the process of apomixis. जी हाँ, seed formation without fertilization in flowering plants involves the process of apomixis. Question 27. Which of the following pairs is not correctly matched? Options are: first, Conidia penicillium; offset, water hyacinth; rhizome, banana; binary fission, sargassum. जी हाँ, not correctly matched is binary fission, sargassum. Question 28. In ginger, vegetative propagation occurs through जी हाँ, in ginger, vegetative propagation occurs through rhizome. जी हाँ, in ginger, vegetative propagation occurs through rhizome. Question 29. Male gametophyte in angiosperms produces जी हाँ, male gametophyte in angiosperms produces two sperms and a vegetative cell. जी हाँ, male gametophyte in angiosperms produces two sperms and a vegetative cell. Question 30. Coconut water from a tender coconut is जी हाँ, coconut water from a tender coconut is free nuclear endosperm. जी हाँ, coconut water from a tender coconut is free nuclear endosperm. Question 31. Filiform apparatus is characteristic feature of जी हाँ, filiform apparatus is characteristic feature of synergids. जी हाँ, filiform apparatus is characteristic feature of synergids. Question 32. The wheat grain has an embryo with one large shield-shaped cotyledon known as जी हाँ, the wheat grain has an embryo with one large shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum. जी हाँ, the wheat grain has an embryo with one large shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum. Question 33. Which one of the following fruits is parthenocarpic? जी हाँ, Banana fruits is parthenocarpic. जी हाँ, banana fruits is parthenocarpic. Question 34. In angiosperms, microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis. जी हाँ, in angiosperms, microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis involves meiosis. जी हाँ, in angiosperms, microsporogenesis and megasporogenesis involves meiosis. Question 35. Which one of the following statement is not true? Options are: first, honey is made by bees by digesting pollen collected from flowers. Second, pollen grains are rich in nutrients and they are used in the form of tablets and syrups. Third, pollen grains of some plants cause severe allergies and bronchial afflictions in some people. Fourth, the flowers pollinated by flies and bats secrete fall odor to attract them. जी हाँ, not true is honey is made by bees by digesting pollen collected from flowers. Question 36. The hilum is a scar on the. जी हाँ, the hilum is a scar on the sheet where funicle was attached. जी हाँ, the hilum is a scar on the sheet where funicle was attached. Question 37. Which one of the following may require pollinators but is genetically similar to autogamy? जी हाँ, Geitonogamy may require pollinators but is genetically similar to autogamy. जी हाँ, Geitonogamy may require pollinators but is genetically similar to autogamy. Question 38. Which of the following are the important floral rewards to the animal pollinators? जी हाँ, the important floral rewards to the animal pollinators nectar and pollen grains. जी हाँ, the important floral rewards to animal pollinators is nectar and pollen grains. Question 39. Transmission tissue is characteristic feature of. जी हाँ, ट्रांसमिशन टिश्यू इज कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर ऑफ सॉलिड स्टाइल. जी हाँ, ट्रांसमिशन टिश्यू इज कैरेक्टरिस्टिक फीचर ऑफ सॉलिड स्टाइल. Question 40. Which one of the following is wrong about Kara? Options are: first, upper Ugonium and lower round Antheridium. Globule and nuclei present on the same plant. Upper Antheridium and lower Ugonium. Globule is male reproductive structure. जी हाँ, wrong about Kara is upper Antheridium and lower Ugonium. जी हाँ, wrong about Kara is upper Antheridium and lower Ugonium. Question 41. Zitonogamy involves. Zitonogamy involves fertilization of a flower by the pollen from another flower of the same plant. जी हाँ, zytonogamy involves fertilization of a flower by the pollen from another flower of the same plant. Question 42. Pollen tablets are available in the market for. जी हाँ, pollen tablets are available in the market for supplementing food. जी हाँ, pollen tablets are available in the market for supplementing food. Question 43. Function of a filiform apparatus is to. जी हाँ, function of a filiform apparatus is to guide the entry of a pollen tube. जी हाँ, function of a filiform apparatus is to guide the entry of a pollen tube. Question 44. Isogamous condition with non-flagellated gametes is found in. जी हाँ, isogamous condition with non-flagellated gametes is found in Spirogyra. जी हाँ, isogamous condition with non-flagellated gametes is found in Spirogyra. Question 45. Product of sexual reproduction generally generates. जी हाँ, product of sexual reproduction generally generates new genetic combination leading to variation. जी हाँ, product of sexual reproduction generally generates new genetic combination leading to variation. Question 46. Perisperm differs from endosperm in. जी हाँ, perisperm differs from endosperm in being a diploid tissue. जी हाँ, perisperm differs from endosperm in being a diploid tissue. Question 44. Isogamous condition with non-flagellated gametes is found in. जी हाँ, isogamous condition with non-flagellated gametes is found in Spirogyra. जी हाँ, isogamous condition with non-flagellated gametes is found in Spirogyra. Question 45. Product of sexual reproduction generally generates. जी हाँ, product of sexual reproduction generally generates new genetic combination leading to variation. जी हाँ, product of sexual reproduction generally generates new genetic combination leading to variation. Question 46. Perisperm differs from endosperm in. जी हाँ, perisperm differs from endosperm in being a diploid tissue. जी हाँ, perisperm differs from endosperm in being a diploid tissue. Question 47. Megasporangium is equivalent to. जी हाँ, megasporangium is equivalent to ovule. जी हाँ, megasporangium is equivalent to ovule. Question 48. Advantage of cleistogamy is. जी हाँ, advantage of calistogamy is no dependency on pollinators. जी हाँ, advantage of calistogamy is no dependency on pollinators. Question 49. Which one of the following statement is correct? जी हाँ, correct statement is जी हाँ, tapetum nourishes the developing pollen. जी हाँ, tapetum nourishes the developing pollen. Question 50. Which of the following is correctly matched? जी हाँ, onion bulb is correctly matched. जी हाँ, onion bulb is correctly matched. Question 51. An organic substance that can withstand environmental extremes and cannot be degraded by an enzyme is? जी हाँ, an organic substance that can withstand environmental extremes and cannot be degraded by any enzyme is sporopollenin. जी हाँ, an organic substance that can withstand environmental extremes and cannot be degraded by any enzyme is sporopollenin. Question 52. The coconut water and the edible part of coconut are equivalent to? जी हाँ, the coconut water and the edible part of coconut are equivalent to endosperm. जी हाँ, the coconut water and the edible part of coconut are equivalent to endosperm. Question 53. The gynosium consists of many free pistils in flowers of? जी हाँ, the gynosium consists of many free pistils in flowers of Michaelia. जी हाँ, the gynosium consists of many free pistils in flowers of Michaelia. Question 54. Both autogamy and geitonogamy are prevented in? जी हाँ, both autogamy and geitonogamy are prevented in papaya. जी हाँ, both autogamy and geitonogamy are prevented in papaya. Question 55. Even in absence of pollination agents, seed shedding is assured in? जी हाँ, even in absence of pollination agents, seeds setting is assured in Commelina. जी हाँ, even in absence of pollination agents, seeds setting is assured in Commelina. Question 56. What is the function of germ pore? जी हाँ, initiation of pollen tube is the function of germ pore. जी हाँ, initiation of pollen tube is the function of germ pore. Question 57. Which one of the following statements is wrong? First, when pollen is shed at two-celled stage, double fertilization does not take place. Vegetative cell is larger than generative cell. Pollen grain in some plants remain viable for months. Inetine is made up of cellulose and pectin. The wrong statement is when pollen is shed to celled stage, double fertilization does not take place. Question 58. Plants with ovaries having only one or a few ovules are generally pollinated by. जी हाँ, plants with ovaries having only one or a few ovules are generally pollinated by wind. जी हाँ, plants with ovaries having only one or a few ovules are generally pollinated by wind. जी हाँ, nuclear polyembryony is reported in species of citrus. जी हाँ, nuclear polyembryony is reported in species of citrus. Question 60. Filiform apparatus is a characteristic feature of. जी हाँ, filiform apparatus is a characteristic feature of synergids. जी हाँ, filiform apparatus is a characteristic feature of synergids. Question 61. Wind pollination is common in. जी हाँ, wind pollination is common in grasses. जी हाँ, wind pollination is common in grasses. Question 62. In which of the following pollination is autogamous? जी हाँ, in cleistogamy pollination is autogamous. जी हाँ, in cleistogamy pollination is autogamous. Question 63. In angiosperms, functional megaspore develops into. जी हाँ, in angiosperms, functional megaspore develops into embryo sac. जी हाँ, in angiosperms, functional megaspore develops into embryo sac. Question 64. What is common between vegetative reproduction and apomixis? जी हाँ, both produce progeny identical to the parent is common between vegetative reproduction and apomixis. जी हाँ, both produce progeny identical to the parent is common between vegetative reproduction and apomixis. Question 65. What would be the number of chromosomes of the aileron cells of a plant with 42 chromosomes in its root tip cells? Question 66. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the astigma of another flower of the same plant is called. The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the astigma of another flower of the same plant is called geitonogamy. जी हाँ, transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the astigma of another flower of the same plant is called geitonogamy. Question 67. Wind pollinated flowers are. जी हाँ, wind pollinated flowers are small, producing a large number of dry pollen grains. जी हाँ, wind pollinated flowers are small, producing a large number of dry pollen grains. Question 68. Apomictic embryos in citrus arise from. जी हाँ, एपोमिक्टिक एम्ब्रियोज इन सिट्रस अराइज फ्रॉम मैटरनल स्पोरोफाइटिक टिश्यू इन ओव्यूल। जी हाँ, एपोमिक्टिक एम्ब्रियो इन सिट्रस अराइज फ्रॉम मैटरनल स्पोरोफाइटिक टिश्यू इन ओव्यूल। Question 69. Which one of the following pairs of plant structures has haploid number of chromosome? जी हाँ, egg cell and antipodal cells is the pairs of plant structures which has haploid number of chromosomes. जी हाँ, egg cell and antipodal cells is the pairs of plant structures which has haploid number of chromosomes. Question 70. What does the filiform apparatus do at the entrance into ovule? The filiform apparatus at the entrance into ovule helps in the entry of a pollen tube into a synergid. The filiform apparatus at the entrance into ovule helps in the entry of a pollen tube into a synergid. Question 71. Unisexuality of flowers prevents. The unisexuality of flowers prevents autogamy but not zygonogamy. जी हाँ, unisexuality of flowers prevents autogamy but not zygonogamy. Question 72. Which one of the following is resistant to enzyme action? जी हाँ, pollen exine is resistant to enzyme action. जी हाँ, pollen exine is a resistance to enzyme action. Question 73. Male gametes in angiosperms are formed by the division of. जी हाँ, male gametes in angiosperms are formed by the division of generative cells. जी हाँ, male gametes in angiosperms are formed by the division of generative cell. Question 74. Which one of the following is surrounded by a callose wall? जी हाँ, microspore mother cell is surrounded by a callose wall. जी हाँ, microspore mother cell is surrounded by a callose wall. Question 75. What would be the number of chromosomes in the cells of the aleurone layer in a plant species with 8 chromosomes in its synergid? Question 76. Long filamentous threads protruding at the end of a young cob of maize are. जी हाँ, long filamentous threads protruding at the end of a young cob of maize are styles. जी हाँ, long filamentous threads protruding at the end of a young cob of maize are styles. Question 77. The arrangement of the nuclei in a normal embryo sac in the dicot plants is. जी हाँ, the arrangement of the nuclei in a normal embryo sac in the dicot plants is 3 plus 2 plus 3. जी हाँ, the arrangement of the nuclei in a normal embryo sac in the dicot plants is 3 plus 2 plus 3. Question 78. In a cereal grain, the single cotyledon of embryo is represented by. जी हाँ, in a cereal grain, the single cotyledon of embryo is represented by a scutellum. जी हाँ, in a cereal grain, the single cotyledon of embryo is represented by a scutellum. Question 79. In a type of apomixis known as adventive embryony, embryos develop directly from the. जी हाँ, in a type of apomixis known as adventive embryony, embryos develop directly from the nucellus or integuments. जी हाँ, in a type of apomixis known as adventive embryony, embryos develop directly from the nucellus or integuments. Question 80. Through which cell of the embryo sac does the pollen tube enter the embryo sac? जी हाँ, through degenerative synergid cells of the embryo sac does the pollen tube enter the embryo sac? जी हाँ, through degenerative synergid cells of the embryo sac does the pollen tube enter the embryo sac? Question 81. Which one of the following represents an ovule where the embryo sac becomes horse, shoe-shaped and the funicles and micropyle are close to each other? जी हाँ, Amphitropus represents an ovule where the embryo sac becomes horseshoe-shaped and the funiculus and micropyle are close to each other. जी हाँ, Amphitropus represents an ovule where the embryo sac becomes horseshoe-shaped and the funiculus and micropyle are close to each other. Questions asked prior to Medical Entrance Exam 2005. Question 82. Select the wrong statement. Options are: first, an isogametes differ either in structure, function, or behavior. Option second, Chlamydomonas exhibits both isogamy and anisogamy and Ficus zoogamy. And option next, isogametes are similar in structure, function, and behavior. And last, in Oomycetes female gamete is smaller and motile, while male gamete is larger and non-motile. जी हाँ, wrong statement is in Oomycetes female gamete is smaller and motile, while male gamete is larger and non-motile. Question 83. Monoecious plant of Kara shows occurrence of. जी हाँ, monoecious plant of Kara shows occurrence of upper Ugonium and lower Antheridium on the same plant. जी हाँ, monoecious plant of Kara shows occurrence of upper Ugonium and lower Antheridium on the same plant. Question 84. Which one of the following is common to multicellular fungi, filamentous algae, and Protonema of mosses? जी हाँ, multiplication by fragmentation is common to multicellular fungi, filamentous algae and Protonema of mosses. जी हाँ, multiplication by fragmentation is common to multicellular fungi, filamentous algae and Protonema of mosses. Question 85. The eyes of the potato tuber are? जी हाँ, the eyes of the potato tuber are axillary buds. जी हाँ, the eyes of the potato tuber are axillary buds. Question 86. Which one of the following pairs is wrongly matched while the remaining three are correct? जी हाँ, बड़ा फिल्म का मैचिंग लीफ बर्ड से, एग्यू का बल्बिल्स से, पेनिसिलियम का कोनिडिया से करेक्ट है। जबकि जी हाँ, बड़ा फिल्म का मैचिंग लीफ बर्ड से, एग्यू का बल्बिल्स से, पेनिसिलियम का कोनिडिया से करेक्ट है। जबकि वाटर हाइसिंथ का रनर से रॉन्गली मैच्ड है। Question 87. Examine the figure given below and select the right option given all the four parts A, B, C, and D correctly identified. Question 88. Which of the following propagates through leaf tip? जी हाँ, walking fern propagates through leaf tip. जी हाँ, walking fern propagates through leaf tip. Question 89. In oogamy, fertilization involves? जी हाँ, in oogamy, fertilization involves a large non-motile female gamete and a small motile male gamete. जी हाँ, in oogamy, fertilization involves a large non-motile female gamete and a small motile male gamete. Question 90. In which one of the following pair both the plants can be vegetatively propagated by leaf buds? जी हाँ, Bryophyllum and Kalanchoe pair both the plants can be vegetatively propagated by leaf buds. जी हाँ, Bryophyllum and Kalanchoe pair both the plants can be vegetatively propagated by leaf buds. Question 91. Why is vivipary an undesirable character for annual crop plants? जी हाँ, the seeds cannot be stored under normal condition for the next season is vivipary, that is an undesirable character for annual crop plants. जी हाँ, the seeds cannot be stored under normal condition for the next season is vivipary, that is an undesirable character for annual crop plants. Question 92. Vegetative propagation in mint occurs by? जी हाँ, vegetative propagation in mint occurs by suckers. जी हाँ, vegetative propagation in mint occurs by sucker. Question 93. Which one of the following plants is monoecious? जी हाँ, पाइनस प्लांट्स इज मोनोएसियस। जी हाँ, पाइनस प्लांट्स इज मोनोएसियस। क्वेश्चन 94, विच वन ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज अ पॉलीगेमस प्लांट? जी हाँ, लीची इज अ पॉलीगेमस प्लांट। जी हाँ, लीची इज अ पॉलीगेमस प्लांट। Question 95. Examine the figure A to D given below and select the right option out of 1 to 4 in which all the four structure A, B, C, D are identified correctly. Question 96. Vegetative propagation in Pistia occurs by? जी हाँ, vegetative propagation in Pistia occurs by offset. जी हाँ, vegetative propagation in Pistia occurs by offset. Question 97. Syngamy can occur outside the body of the organism in? जी हाँ, syngamy can occur outside the body of the organism in algae. जी हाँ, syngamy can occur outside the body of the organism in algae. Question 98. Which one of the following statements is correct? जी हाँ, Callistogamous flowers are always autogamous is correct. जी हाँ, Callistogamous flowers are always autogamous is correct. Question 99. Megaspores are produced from the megaspore mother cells after? जी हाँ, megaspores are produced from the megaspore mother cells after meiotic division. जी हाँ, megaspores are produced from the megaspore mother cells after meiotic division. Question 10. Animal vectors are required for pollination in? जी हाँ, animal vectors are required for pollination in cucumber. जी हाँ, animal vectors are required for pollination in cucumber. Question 101. Which of the following statements is correct? जी हाँ, sporopollenin can withstand high temperatures as well as strong acids as alkalis. जी हाँ, sporopollenin can withstand high temperatures as well as strong acids as alkalis is correct. Question 102. Albuminious seeds store their reserve food mainly in? जी हाँ, albuminous seeds store their reserve food mainly in endosperm. जी हाँ, albuminous seeds store their reserve food mainly in endosperm. Question 103. Embryo in sunflower has? जी हाँ, embryo in sunflower has two cotyledons. जी हाँ, embryo in sunflower has two cotyledons. Question 104. Endosperm is consumed by developing embryo in the seed of? जी हाँ, endosperm is consumed by developing embryo in the sheath of pea. जी हाँ, endosperm is consumed by developing embryo in the sheath of pea. Question 105. In a flowering plant, the pollen tube first arrives in. जी हाँ, in a flowering plant, the pollen tube first arrives in a synergid. जी हाँ, in a flowering plant, the pollen tube first arrives in a synergid. Question 106. Which of the following statements is wrong? Options are: no enzyme can degrade sporopollenin. Second, pollen grains are well represented in fossil strata due to sporopollenin. Next, pollen wall has cavities containing proteins. And next, pollen grains remain viable for several months because their outer covering is made of sporopollenin. जी हाँ, wrong statements is pollen grains remain viable for several months because their outer covering is made of sporopollenin. Question 107. Long ribbon-like pollen grains are seen in the sum. जी हाँ, long ribbon-like pollen grains are seen in some aquatic plants. जी हाँ, long ribbon-like pollen grains are seen in some aquatic plants. Question 108. Which one of the following pairs of plant structures has haploid number of chromosomes? जी हाँ, egg cell and antipodal cells is pairs of plant structures which has haploid number of chromosomes. जी हाँ, egg cell and antipodal cells is pairs of plant structures which has haploid number of chromosomes. Question 109. Embryo sac represents. जी हाँ, embryo sac represents megagametophyte. जी हाँ, embryo sac represents megagametophyte. Question 110. If an angiospermic male plant is diploid and a female plant tetraploid, diploid level of endosperm will be. जी हाँ, if an angiospermic male plant is diploid and female plant tetraploid, the ploidy level of endosperm will be pentaploidy. जी हाँ, if an angiospermic male plant is diploid and female plant tetraploid, the ploidy level of endosperm will be pentaploidy. Question 111. The role of double fertilization in angiosperms is to produce. जी हाँ, the role of double fertilization in angiosperms is to produce endosperm. जी हाँ, the role of double fertilization in angiosperms is to produce endosperm. Question 112. An interesting modification of flower shape for insect pollination occurred in some orchid in which a male insect mistakes the pattern on the orchid flower for the female species and tries to copulate with it, thereby pollination of a flower. This phenomenon is called. Question 112. An interesting modification of flower shape for insect pollination occurred in some orchid in which a male insect mistakes the pattern on the orchid flower for the female species and tries to copulate with it, thereby pollination of a flower. This phenomenon is called pseudocopulation. Question 112. An interesting modification of flower shape for insect pollination occurred in some orchid in which a male insect mistakes the pattern on the orchid flower for the female species and tries to copulate with it, thereby pollination of a flower. This phenomenon is called pseudocopulation. Question 113. Endosperm is formed during the double fertilization by. जी हाँ, endosperm is formed during the double fertilization by two polar nuclei and one male gamete. जी हाँ, endosperm is formed during the double fertilization by two polar nuclei and one male gamete. Question 114. The anemophily type of pollination is found in. जी हाँ, anemophily type of pollination is found in coconut. जी हाँ, anemophily type of pollination is found in coconut. Question 115. What is the direction of micropyle in Anatropous ovule? जी हाँ, downward is the direction of micropyle in Anatropous ovule. जी हाँ, downward is the direction of micropyle in Anatropous ovule. Question 116. In angiosperm, all the four microspores of tetrad are covered by a layer which is formed by. जी हाँ, in angiosperm, all the four microspores of tetrad are covered by a layer which is formed by callus. जी हाँ, in angiosperm, all the four microspores of tetrad are covered by a layer which is formed by callus. Question 117. In angiosperms, pollen tube liberate their male gametes into the. जी हाँ, in angiosperms, pollen tube liberate their male gametes into the synergids. जी हाँ, in angiosperms, pollen tube liberate their male gametes into the synergids. Question 118. An ovule which becomes curved so that the nucellus and embryo sac lie at right angle to the funicle is hemitropous. Question 118. An ovule which becomes curved so that the nucellus and embryo sac lie at right angle to the funicle is hemitropous. Question 119. When a diploid female plant is crossed with a tetraploid male diploid of endosperm cell in the resulting shade is. जी हाँ, when a diploid female plant is crossed with a tetraploid male, the ploidy of endosperm cells in the resulting seed is tetraploidy. Question 120. The polyembryony commonly occurs in? जी हाँ, the polyembryony commonly occurs in citrus. जी हाँ, the polyembryony commonly occurs in citrus. Question 121. 8 nucleated embryo sac is? जी हाँ, 8 nucleated embryo sac is only monosporic, only bisporic, only tetrasporic, any of these. जी हाँ, any of these. Question 122. Adventive embryony in citrus is due to? जी हाँ, adventive embryony in citrus is due to nucellus. जी हाँ, adventive embryony in citrus is due to nucellus. Question 123. In a flowering plant, archaeosporium gives rise to? जी हाँ, in a flowering plant, archaeosporium gives rise to both wall and the aspergillus cells. जी हाँ, in a flowering plant, archaeosporium gives rise to both wall and the aspergillus cells. Question 124. In a type of apomixis known as advenitive embryony, embryos develop directly from the? जी हाँ, in a type of apomixis known as adventive embryony, embryos develop directly from the nucellus or integuments. जी हाँ, in a type of apomixis known as adventive embryony, embryos develop directly from the nucellus or integuments. Question 125. Function of a filiform apparatus is to? The function of a filiform apparatus is to guide the entry of a pollen tube. The function of a filiform apparatus is to guide the entry of a pollen tube.